The lore in Apex Legends, it's pretty complex. The writers at Respawn, they have given us so many little bits and pieces of lore for us to string together. So in today's video, I'm gonna be stringing together a couple of these things, and I'm gonna give some lore theories that should absolutely blow your mind. These theories are gonna be about the legends in the game, and I have enough evidence for these theories that they shouldn't even be considered theories. With the help of the internet and my own lore knowledge, I'm gonna be showing you some incredible things. Anyways, I'm Alarmix. Let's get into the video. So the first lore theory, this is gonna start off with Caustic. When you're playing with Caustic, he has a couple of voice lines where he coughs. Like for example, one, he goes, "Dying outside of the ring, it would be pointless." Also, if you have Caustic selected in the pre-game lobby, you can see him coughing. So Caustic, he's an evil scientist that likes to see how his gas affects people. I feel like a lot of people, they assume he coughs because he may have inhaled some of his own gas. But I think it turns out that may not be true. So just for a second, let's take a look at Caustic's mask. So at first glance, this looks exactly like a gas mask would look. But there's one really huge problem with Caustic's whole mask setup. As you know, Caustic has a beard. So real gas masks, they require a tight seal around the face. A beard stops the mask from having a clean seal. If you have a beard and are using a gas mask normally, it won't serve much purpose, and whatever there is in the air will get into your mask. So there are a couple of ways that you can get around having a beard and still using a gas mask. I've seen online that you can like put Vaseline on your face, or you can just like shave around the corners of the mask or whatever. But from the solutions I was looking at, I don't think there is even a remote chance that Caustic would be doing any of these things. So if we go back to stage 1, why is Caustic coughing? This is when we will start looking into illnesses. So Caustic, he probably does not have lung cancer or anything like that. That would be too deadly, and he would probably not be participating in the Apex games. A far more probable illness that Caustic may have is something called CF, or cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is when the mucus inside of your body, apparently it's like super thick, and this will cause many complications with many different systems in your body. But the main thing that it will affect, and that how it affects people, is that it will give you some pretty serious lung problems. The over 70,000 people on our planet that have cystic fibrosis, they all get complications from this really thick mucus clogging up their lungs. I just want to quickly say the obvious. I'm obviously not an expert on any of this. What I'm telling you is just from my research on this topic that I've done online. There are apparently so many different treatments to cystic fibrosis. The list goes on, but there is no permanent cure to it. From what I've seen, they're always coming out with new different treatments and new ways to try to cure CF. But from what I've seen, one of the most well-known ways and one of the most used ways to help relieve the symptoms of CF is by the use of inhaling different medications. I'm gonna try not to go too into depth with this, but people with CF who are always using these masks, they're usually inhaling different antifungal medications or something else to try to break up that mucus in their lungs. If I show you a picture of one of these masks being used, it actually has no air seal, because to get different medications into your lungs, I'm gonna say this word again, apparently you don't need a seal on the mask. So that's my theory with Caustic, because he is coughing because he does not have a seal on his mask. I think that he has a disease, and this disease, there's a pretty high chance this is CF. I have something pretty interesting that I found on Twitter to share with you guys. There's a quick conversation between some guy and a writer at Respawn. So the guy, Outmaneuver Challenger, said, "Hey, at this writer at Respawn, what out of interest is your logic that Path, Rev, and Blood could be affected by Caustic's Nox gas?" And then the writer, Tom Casiello, he said, "You mean his corrosive gas that eats through clothes, skin, and metal unless countered by a chemical compound only he possesses, so it doesn't affect him, that Nox gas?" So this is a pretty incredible piece of information, because we now know that Caustic is not affected by his own gas, because he has basically the secret formula that makes him immune to his own gas. So that gas mask on his face, there's a very high chance that he is not using it to avoid the gas. It is probably on his face for some other reason. So like I said before, people, this mask that is on Caustic's face, I do not believe it is there to protect him from his own gas. I believe it is there because he has some sort of terminal illness, and this is most likely cystic fibrosis. My friends, right before we get into the next lore theory, if you are not subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button right now below this video for more more interesting Apex Legends videos just like this. My next lore theory involves Wraith. So how Wraith came to be, what we do know, we got a voice line in-game that Wraith, she was a scientist and she was experimenting on phase shift technology. She believes strongly that other dimensions existed. We also got from this in-game voice line that if she couldn't find any test subjects, she would allow the test to be done on herself. And it turns out that's what happened. This test was performed on herself and it was deemed a failure. We saw in the Voidwalker trailer that there was only one Wraith at the end of it that could travel through different dimensions, and every single other Wraith in infinite dimensions could not do that. So apparently once out of infinite times, this test was successful, but otherwise for every single other Wraith ever, bad things happened to him. Our Wraith today, she lost her memories about pretty much everything that ever happened to her. Now exactly how she lost her memories and how the tests went, we are not really sure. We have not had that many details about it, but I do have a little miniature theory here to share with you. So I believe Wraith underwent a process called regeneration. So I'm going to read off this little wiki page, this paragraph about what regeneration is. Regeneration is a mysterious process which certain pilots may be invited to undergo. The exact process is not fully known, but the end result will refresh a pilot's body, allowing them a number of combat enchantments to enhance the pilot's rate at which they can learn and react to information. This process, however, comes at a large cost. The pilot undergoing regeneration will lose some of their memory during the regeneration process, requiring them to learn skills or earn equipment again. So in Titanfall, regeneration is basically prestiging your character. I don't know if you guys ever played Call of Duty where you can prestige, but it's basically setting yourself back to level 0, and then you have to level all the way back up again, but in return you get something really cool. So it seems lore-wise in Titanfall, how regeneration works is with pilots, if their bodies get damaged or if their minds get damaged, it's basically like hitting a reset button, and then once they're done with regeneration, they will have a fresh mind, a fresh body, and they will have special abilities. So I think what happened with Wraith at the labs, they experimented on Wraith, and once it damaged her body or her mind, she went through regeneration. We saw Wraith's lab partner, he was sacrificing his life to try to get a hold of the Voidwalker Wraith. He was like, no, don't kill that Voidwalker, kill the other one that doesn't have the Voidwalker powers. I think the scientist was super dedicated to getting the job done, to making a Voidwalker Wraith, that if regeneration would have helped to keep Wraith's body intact, our Wraith today that we play as, he would have used regeneration to his advantage to keep Wraith going, to undergo more and more experiments, to keep her body and mind fresh. But some crazy fun fact, on Wraith's shoulder, she actually has a Titanfall emblem. So this probably means that Wraith was somehow involved in the Titanfall universe. This might not mean a whole lot, but I found some Reddit post online. I'll make sure to link it in the description if you want to look more carefully into this. Apparently, someone went into the textures on Wraith and they looked around her little bag on her waist, and apparently on this it says Pilot INV. I couldn't find a picture of this. I think without going to the game's files and really looking closely, you can't really see it with your own eye in game or anything. But another fun fact, Wraith actually has a Gen 10 symbol on her chest. So this is absolutely just groundbreaking. The Gen 10 symbol is only for pilots who have regenerated 10 times. So the whole lore theory here, and I believe I have a pretty decent amount of evidence behind this, is that before Wraith was a scientist, before Wraith tried to discover this Voidwalker technology, she was a pilot and was most likely involved with the IMC, because King's Canyon, that whole Wraith Labs, it is former IMC. In Titanfall, you can phase shift, you can go invincible for a few seconds. That kind of technology did exist in the Titanfall universe. So what I think happened is that Wraith, she was trained to be a normal pilot, but then when she regenerated, she got her phase shift abilities. But then the whole Voidwalker, where she could make a portal and then go into different dimensions, that is where in the Voidwalker trailer, we saw there was that only one Wraith that was capable of that, at least with her gear. So every single Wraith already had that phase shift technology. They could all go invincible for a few seconds, but there was only that one successful test with that one Wraith where she could go through different dimensions. And I guess just real quickly, for some of the people out here who don't know what pilots are, they are actually the people from the Titanfall series who operate the big robot titans. So my friends, I would love it if you comment below what you think about my lore theories. Did you find a couple of plot holes? I'm sure there's plot holes. Or maybe everything lines up and you think I'm 100% correct. I would love to hear what you think and discuss what you think in the comments below. So my next theory for you, this one involves Blisk. Blisk is the person who originally set up the Apex games. He has his own little cutscene where he talks about the legends. It seems now that Blisk, he is just in charge of recruiting and introducing new legends to the Apex games. It seems that we're getting Blisk as a legend in Apex Legends not too far into the future. If we look at this developer page, this is supposed to be the, you know, official leaked legends page. It goes in order here. So we have Crypto, Revenant, Loba, Rampart, Velk, Blisk. Blisk should be 3 legends into the future now. So 3 seasons away. In season 8, you should be able to play as Blisk. This man's, he actually comes from the Titanfall series. He was the leader of a group called the Apex Predators. The Predators were a bloodthirsty group of mercenaries. The Predators were only for the most elite pilots. They completed mercenary contract work for the highest bidder. More often than not, this would be for the IMC, because during the Frontier Militia War, there was the IMC and the militia, and the IMC had far more money. So the IMC would pay off this group of just super skilled pilots to absolutely obliterate the militia. For example, the Apex Predators, they oversaw the transport of the Ark to the Fold weapon, an ancient high-tech planet-destroying weapon. So what happened to the Apex Predators? Every single one besides Blisk, they're all dead. During the war, pretty tragic things happened to each one of the Apex Predators. Blisk is the sole survival of this group. So something that I find a little bit weird is that during the Frontier Militia War, Blisk was in charge of this group of Apex Predators. He was the commander. And now, further into the future, he is in charge of recruiting people to the Apex games. A bunch of elite fighters competing against each other. So people, I think we can see a little bit of a relation here. Blisk is in charge of 2 very elite fighting units, I guess you could call them. So I think there is just a small chance, and this is a little bit of a shot in the dark, that Blisk, him being in charge of the Apex games, I think he is trying to bring back the Apex Predators from Titanfall. I mean, Wraith, I think we kind of proved that she's a pilot. It turns out Bloodhound, he has that Gen 10 symbol too. And I mean, people, that's all I have to say about this theory. I mean, let me know what you think about it. Is there a chance that Blisk, is he trying to bring back the elite fighting unit from Titanfall 2 with the Apex games? Maybe his motive to join the Apex games and fight for himself, it will have something to do with trying to make this elite fighting unit a reality. Maybe he's trying to compete and see how skilled these people really are that are playing in the Apex games. Anyways, like I said, let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button right now for more interesting Apex Legends videos just like this. And that'll be about it for me, the Alarmix. I'll see you guys later.